Jury, voir dire, Day 2, Marian, Flint. The court. At this time, we're back on the record, and the next juror is Marian Flint. Miss Flint, please raise your right hand and the clerk will administer the oath. Juror sworn. The clerk, please be seated. The court. Miss Flint, you have already submitted a written questionnaire in this case. At this point, we're going on to the next phase of juror selection, which is individual voir dire. The attorneys for each of the parties will have a chance to ask you some questions to follow up on the answers that you gave in your questionnaire. Before that, I can tell you that the juror that is selected in this case will not be sequestered. That means at the end of each court day, you'll be able to go back home. I can also tell you that although the proceedings today are open to the public, there are no cameras allowed in the courtroom during individual voir dire, and the media is not allowed to disclose the names of the jurors in their reports to the public. In addition, if you are selected to serve on the jury in this case, the cameras will not be permitted to show the jurors at the trial. Even after today, I will remind you, if you are still on the jury panel, that you are to continue not reading anything about this case, watching anything on television, listening to anything on the radio, or discussing the case in any manner with anyone. Mr. Fallon, are you going to be handling this one? You may begin. Voir dire examination by Attorney Fallon. Question. Good afternoon, Mrs. Flint. My name is Tom Fallon. I'm an Assistant Attorney General with the Wisconsin Department of Justice, and I'm one of the prosecutors in the case. To my left is Mr. Ken Kratz, the Calumet County District Attorney, and Mr. Kratz here is the lead prosecutor of this case involving Mr. Avery. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your patience. I know it's a long wait as we long-winded lawyers chat out here with some of your peers. I wanted to follow up with a few questions regarding some of the information you provided last week in your questionnaire to help us in selecting a jury for this case. Let me first begin. I note that for your principal occupation, you note homemaker, but somewhere I have this feeling that perhaps you might have had some experience as a teacher or a teacher's aide or... Answer. My daughter is a teacher's aide. Question. Your daughter is? Answer. Mm-hmm. And my son is a teacher. Question. All right. Did you have some teacher training? Answer. Yes. Question. I see. Okay. But chose to raise a family instead? Answer. That's correct. Question. Okay. Very well. Have you ever worked outside of your home? Answer. No, I haven't. Question. Okay. And by the way, I looked at your questionnaire and please accept all of our condolences for the passing of your father. Answer. Thank you. Question. I understand that took a fair amount of your time. Answer. Yes, it did. Question. Well, now that that has passed, what do you think you might like to do with some of your extra time there? Answer. I think I would probably donate some of my time, volunteer at the facility where my dad was for the last 7 years. Question. Okay. Answer. Because they were really good to him. Question. All right. Answer. They can always use an extra hand. Question. I bet that's true. Do you like to read or travel, or what do you like to do? Answer. I love to read. Question. You do? Answer. I've tried travelling in the past 15 years and I'm not much of a traveller. Question. Not much of a traveller? So, like fine wine, you don't travel very well? Answer. No. Question. All right. What kind of books or things do you like to read? Answer. Well, I like romance novels. Question. All right. Answer. I like a good mystery. I like Nicholas Sparks' books. Question. Okay. What is it about his books that you like? Answer. Well, they're easy to read. He sounds like a very loving husband and father. Question. Okay. And is there a general theme or part of his books that you find particularly attractive that brings you back to his writing? Answer. Well, Message in a Bottle was one to speak of. I like Clive Cussler's books too. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start reading one of those. Question. All right. I note you've done some other volunteer work. Can you tell us something about your volunteer work? The Order of the Eastern Star, Shrine Auxiliary, St. James Church. Tell us about some of your volunteer work. Answer. Order of Eastern Star, I was a star point. We raised a lot of money for charity. Shrine Auxiliary, I was the treasurer for that group. And there, again, we raised a lot of money for the children's hospitals. Question. Right. How long were you associated with the Shrine Group? Answer. I would say about 4 or 5 years, and then it folded. Question. I see. Were you the treasurer during that time frame? Answer. Yes. Mm-hmm. Question. So, with you managing the purse strings, you did well? Answer. I hope so. Question. Very good. And how about Memorial Hospital? Answer. I was working for the auxiliary there. Patient service, male, guiding patients around. Question. All right. And senior ice skating? Tell us about that. Answer. Yes, I did ice skate for 6 years with the senior group at Expo. We brought our own music, our kind of music, and had camaraderie in the group. It was fun. Question. Do you still skate? Answer. No. 2 years ago, I thought my balance wasn't quite right and didn't think it was best if I break an arm. Question. All right. So you passed on it? Answer. Yes. Question. How long did you skate? Answer. 6 years. Question. All right. Answer. With the seniors. Question. Now, interesting. Did you take up skating in your senior years or did you skate when you were younger? Answer. I skated as a child. My dad taught all 3 of us kids to skate. Question. All right. And this is figure skating, dance? Answer. Yes. Question. Excellent. All right. Well, I would like to talk to you a little bit about, first of all, some of the people that may appear during the course of this case. And I see one of the individuals you identified as Mr. Drum. Answer. If it's the Curtis Drum, that's a pilot. That would be the one. I know his mother. Question. He's the one. If we're not really sure whether he will be a witness in this case or not, but if he were, do you think you could evaluate his testimony the same way you would evaluate anyone else's, even though you know his mum pretty well? Answer. Oh, sure, I think so. Yes. Question. In other words, you wouldn't give his testimony any more weight or any less weight than anybody else? Answer. No. Question. Okay. All right. One of the things of great interest to all of us here is a lot of the publicity that's attended to this particular case. And I wanted to ask you a few questions about that in terms of the news that you get for day to day. You seem to be somewhat of an avid reader and somewhat informed. Radio, newspapers, television and magazines. If looking at those, where would you say the greatest source of your news comes from? Answer. Probably the radio, early in the morning. Question. All right. What kind of radio do you listen to? Stations or? Answer. Basically WOMT. Question. The local station? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. All right. And how often do you read the newspapers? Answer. Well, I don't get a newspaper, but my brother saves them for me, and so I may read a paper 3 times a week. Question. Okay. All right. And television. How often do you watch television? Answer. I would say every evening, watching Jeopardy, a lot of public TV. I like the programming on public TV. Question. Okay. Do you watch much of the newscast on the local public television stations? Answer. Well, I used to, but I haven't ever since I got the notice that I was going to be on a jury. And I received that letter back in June of 2006, and I thought there was a possibility that maybe I'd be called, so therefore I was extremely careful not to watch things. Question. Okay. And so you think there was at least, so you stopped listening to the news coverage last summer? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. Answer. I watched the national news. Question. Sure. Answer. With Tom Brokaw when he was on and his replacement Brian Williams. Those I do watch. Question. Okay. In terms of local media coverage, you haven't followed any of the recent events regarding the case? Answer. Nothing recent, no. Question. Okay. Based on up to that point of time where you had, I assume you at least followed the case somewhat. Answer. Yes. Question. All right. And in your questionnaire, you indicated you haven't really formed any opinions about this case. Answer. No. No, I haven't. Question. And would that be because you just don't have any information upon which to form an opinion, or just hasn't been all that interesting? Answer. I think there's always two sides to every story. Question. Okay. All right. Well, one of the questions that's set forth in the questionnaire is, would you be able to decide this case solely on the information which is presented during the trial and not on any of the information that you may have gotten from the media or any other opinions that you may have had? Answer. That's right. Just from the information we get here. Question. Right. And you are pretty comfortable you can and confident you can follow that directive? Answer. Oh, yes. Question. All right. You have never served as a juror before? Answer. No. Question. Ever been called to jury duty? Answer. No. Question. So just a little bit of a surprise? Answer. Yes. Yes. Question. All right. Just your luck, right? Answer. Well, it's a good learning experience. Question. All right. Do you think that based on any of your background, anything that you have, any philosophy or conscience or any religious beliefs that makes you doubt whether you could sit and determine the guilt or innocence of someone based on the evidence which is presented in court? Answer. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Question. Yeah, is there anything? Do you have any personal philosophy, personal beliefs, or conscience, or any other reason you think you would not be able to sit and be a juror to determine guilt or innocence? Answer. No, I don't. Question. Okay. Attorney Fallon, I don't have any more for this witness. The court. Mr. Buting? Attorney Buting. Thank you, Judge. Voir dire examination by Attorney Buting. Question. Good evening. Answer. Good evening. Question. May I call you Mrs. Flint? Is that what? Answer. Sure. Question. Okay. My name is Jerome Buting, and myself, along with Dean Strang, are defending Stephen Avery. I assume you understand that. Answer. Yes. Question. And I have a few follow-up questions from your questionnaire, and then some of my own that maybe you haven't thought about much yet. Because you said you used to watch quite a bit of news until like the past summer? Answer. Right. Question. So I assume you saw the news when Mr. Avery was first arrested? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you see the news conference that Mr. Kratz was involved in? Answer. Yes. Question. That would have been in November when he was first announcing an arrest. Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. And did you also learn later that, first of all, do you know the name Brendan Dassey? Answer. Yes. Question. Mr. Avery's nephew? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. And did you also see the news conference for that? Answer. Yes. Question. And did you assume that, therefore, the case was solved and we now know what happened? Answer. No. Question. Why not? Answer. As I said, there's always two sides to a story, and I'm not always sure that when the news media is saying things, that they are saying them right. Question. Sure. But now, in this instance, you actually saw a news conference, right? Answer. Yes. Question. Which went on for half hour or something like that, right? Answer. Mm-hmm. Question. So you actually heard Mr. Kratz sitting over here describing what he now believed. Answer. Yes. Question. The evidence would show. Answer. Right. Question. After hearing a special prosecutor, make those kinds of statements, wouldn't you then be inclined to say, okay, I guess I believe this. This is really what happened? Answer. No. Question. Why not? Answer. Well, I know he saw it that way, but that doesn't mean that I have to see it that way. Question. Okay. Very good. So you recognise that lawyers are advocates for their positions? Answer. Yes. Question. And that maybe they might be presenting something in one way that supports their position, but maybe you might see it different? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. But now when you heard the story of that Brendan Dassey allegedly gave or said or was supposedly said, what did that make you feel about this case? Answer. Sad. Shocked. Question. Mm-hmm. The details were pretty graphic. Answer. Very. Question. Kind of make your hair curl. Answer. Very. As a mother, when you have children? Question. Yes. Answer. Yes. Question. I can imagine. What I'm wondering though is after hearing that and having that reaction, which is perfectly natural and okay, I'm not criticizing that. And then you see my client, Mr. Avery, right there. How can you look at him and say, at this time, I presume him innocent? Answer. He hasn't been proved guilty, though at this point, he has to be proven guilty, and I don't have those details. Question. Well, is that just a matter of mere formality? We have just to go through the trial and then it will be over? Or do you think there's more to it? Answer. There could be more to it. Question. So looking at him, you are telling me that despite what you heard on that day at that press conference, you don't think that you have been so affected by it that you can't be a fair juror in this trial? Answer. No, I don't. Question. And why? Answer. I think I have to have more proof. Question. Okay. Now, did you also learn in the news media that this young man, Brendan Dassey, 16 years old, has since recanted that confession? Answer. No, I didn't hear that. Question. You didn't? Answer. No. Question. Did you hear that there were different stories that he was giving, changing things? Answer. No, I didn't hear that either. Question. Didn't hear any of that? Answer. No. Question. Okay. Can you think of any reason why someone would confess to something that they didn't do? Answer. That's a tough one. No, I really can't. Question. Have you ever heard of people that have falsely confessed to something and then obviously been proven that they didn't do it? Answer. Not offhand, no. Question. Okay. If you heard any evidence or testimony about why that might happen, why people might be inclined or coerced even to say things that aren't true, is that something you could consider? Answer. Yes. Question. Do you think it's possible that that could happen? Answer. Yes. Question. And if you heard testimony about certain techniques that police investigators and detectives use when they question people that might risk the possibility that people would do something like say something that isn't true, that they didn't do, is that something you would consider? Answer. Yes, it's possible. Question. Now, when you said that you want to hear more proof in this case before you make up your mind, by the way, let me go back for a second about what you might have heard. Have you heard anything, any kind of news reports in the paper or anything about a blood vial? Answer. Yes, I did. Question. You did hear that? Answer. Yes. Question. What did you hear about that? Answer. I just heard it was found in the clerk of court's office. Question. Okay. And did you hear anything else that you recall about it or why that matters or doesn't matter or answer? I really don't know. Question. Okay. All right. That's fine. Now, do you know where you would have heard that from if you haven't been watching the news? Answer. I probably heard it on the radio. Question. Okay, so you have heard some things about the case since June, but it's been more on the radio, not the TV? Answer. And I haven't been sitting down and studying it. Question. Right, right. And I know in your questionnaire you said that you were in a widows group. Answer. Yes. Question. What is that exactly? Answer. Actually, it came out of a bereavement class. Question. Okay. Answer. And we enjoyed each other's company so much that we started going out to dinner once a month to a different restaurant every Friday night. Question. Okay. And you mentioned that you think you might have talked about this case? Answer. With some of the gals? Yeah. Question. With some of the gals? Answer. Mm-hmm. Question. Do you know what was said or what kind of opinions were expressed? Answer. No, not opinions. I think they were just expressing what they had or what we had all heard either on the radio or on the TV. Question. Did anything about their discussion influence your opinion about? Answer. Not at all. Question. The case or what you thought? Answer. Not at all. Question. Okay. Now, I assume it doesn't seem like you have much contact with the police over your life. Answer. No, never. Question. Do you watch police shows, cop shows, crime shows? Answer. Not really. That's not my favourite. Question. Okay. But you have seen them over the years? Answer. Not to watch them for a whole hour though. Question. Okay. Do you think that police officers, simply because they are police officers and they have a badge and they swear an oath to protect and obey the law and enforce the law, do you think that when they come into court and testify on the witness stand, if they do, and take the oath, that they necessarily are more believable than the ordinary witness who comes in and takes the oath? Answer. Well, I think for somebody my age, we were taught to respect the police and definitely believe what they say. Question. Sure. And so do you think that because of that teaching and that belief, that it would be hard for you to judge them differently? I mean, to question whether or not they are telling is really the truth? Answer. No, I don't think so. Question. You don't? Okay. Why not? If you have been taught to believe the police, why not? Answer. I just believe that they would get up there and tell the truth if they are sworn to tell the truth. They would tell the truth. Question. Okay, so what I'm asking you then is, because of that, you don't think, I mean, it would be difficult for you to question whether they were telling the truth or not. You would just assume that they are. Is that right? Answer, yes. Question, all right. Well, what if the judge instructed you, though, that you really can't do that, that police officers are just like any other witness and they are human beings and they have the same failings, the same motives or biases as anybody else, and that you have to judge their credibility the same way that you would have any other witness? Answer, I think I would be able to do that. Question, okay. Why, if you believe what you said a few minutes ago, why would you be able to do that? Answer, you got me there. I'm not sure how to answer that. I'm assuming somebody is on the witness stand and they were at the scene and investigating early, and wouldn't they, to my mind, they would not put anything false in their report. I would think they would be honest enough to write down exactly what they saw and found. Question, okay, we would hope so. But my question is, if you hear evidence and questions that are put to the police officers that maybe challenges that belief and maybe makes you question, look a little deeper and think, maybe they weren't being quite as honest as you thought. Answer, that is possible. Question, and if the judge instructed you that you have to look beyond just their badge and their role and look at them as human beings who are the same as any other witness who might have reasons to lie? Answer, okay, yeah, all right. Question, do you think you could do that? Answer, I think so. Question, it seems like it would be tough. Answer, I think every instance is a little different too. It depends on what they would be talking about. Question, sure, I understand that. And I don't mean to just put you on the spot with some hypotheticals, but do you think sometimes the police officers might get, personally invested in their job or in their investigation, such that they, well, let's say, perhaps, even to think that the person is guilty and they want to make sure that the person is convicted because they think he's guilty? Answer, well, I would hope not. Question, you don't think so? Answer, I would hope not. Question, okay. Well, we would all hope not. But if you're sitting on this jury, you're going to have to make some decisions about which witnesses to believe and whether they are really telling the truth, the whole truth. Answer, yes. Question, and some of those witnesses may very well be police officers. Answer, okay. Question, and so, as Mr. Avery's lawyer, I need to know whether you can promise the court that you'll be able to do that in this case, or whether this case is maybe just too hard for you to do that in, to really be able to look at the police officers the same as anybody else. Follow the court's instruction and apply that instruction to them and not just assume. Because when you hope that they wouldn't be dishonest, that therefore they couldn't be. Do you think you could do that? Answer, well, how do I want to say this? If an officer was out there and he wasn't telling the truth, I'm assuming somebody was going to say something else, perhaps one of you two gentlemen. That would make me look at like he wasn't telling the truth. So I think you would have to be in that instance to be able to question. Question, sure. Answer, was that testimony true or was it false? Question, and if you are in that situation and if those questions were put, answer, I would think about that. Question, you would think about that? Answer, yes. Question, you would seriously give consideration to the possibility that, despite what you hope, maybe that officer has not been telling the truth? Answer, sure, yes. Question, and would that go so far as to even believe the possibility that the police were doing more than just coming in and not telling the truth, but maybe even crossing the line and changing words in reports of what witnesses said, or even planting evidence against somebody because they wanted to make sure that that person was convicted? Answer, that is also possible. Question, Okay. Well, I understand you haven't heard any evidence right now, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot that way. Answer, no. Question. All I want to know is if you are open to consider all of the evidence, including evidence that might look that way. Answer, yes. Question. Despite your upbringing and your hopes and everyone's hopes. Answer, yes. Question. Okay, that's fair. Thank you. Do you think that if you did hear all the evidence in this case and you really had a reasonable doubt that the state had proven one or more of these charges beyond reasonable doubt, in other words, you really had reasonable doubt about whether Mr. Avery was guilty, you would be able to come back to your community and your widows group and say, I voted not guilty? Answer, yes. Question, and they would be okay with that? Answer, yes. Question, you would be okay with it? Answer, yes. Question, so there wouldn't be any fear of retribution that you might get? Answer, no. Question, okay, I didn't think. Answer, I'm counting on the other people too. This isn't just my decision. It would be their decision, the other jurors' decision, as well as mine. Question, sure, there's 12 people, right? Answer, yep. Question, and we talked a little bit about presumption of innocence. You recognise also that the state is the one that has the entire burden of proof. Answer, yes. Question, and that they have to convince you beyond a reasonable doubt. Answer, yes. That's what the judge told us last week, Monday. Question, okay. I wonder, though, in this particular case, people might be perfectly understandable for you to think, well, if Mr. Avery is not guilty of this, if he didn't kill that poor young woman, then who did, right? I mean, answer, yes, I have thought of that. Question, okay, would you expect, in order to be able to come back with a verdict of not guilty in this case, would you expect that Mr. Avery would have to convince you who really did kill her? Answer, from the little information that I have right now, I don't think I can answer that. Question, well, answer, I don't know enough about Mr. Dassey. Question, I'm not asking you to answer who else would have. Answer, okay. Question, I'm not asking that. Maybe that's what you think? Answer, yes. Question, what I'm asking is, would you expect that Mr. Avery would have to convince you not only that he didn't do it, but here's the name of the person who did? Answer, he might not know. Question, that's right, he might not know. Answer, no. Question, and so, therefore, how could he, right? Answer, right. Question, so it's, if I understand you then, if he's unable to present evidence in court that convinces you that somebody else is guilty of this crime, you are not going to say, well, therefore he has to be guilty. Answer, no. Question, and it must be him. You will look at the state's case and their burden, right? Because Mr. Avery doesn't have to prove himself innocent. Is that right? Answer, he is innocent until he is proven guilty. Question, okay, and if he is not, he also doesn't have to prove his own innocence either, right? Answer, oh, yes, he does. Question, he does? Answer, I think so. Question, why? Answer, well, if he knows something that he is not saying that would make somebody else guilty, he has to share that too. Question, well, what if he doesn't know? How could he? Answer, well, then he couldn't. Question, you see what I'm saying though? Answer, yes. Question, I have to know whether or not you are going to say, look, I think it's terrible that this poor young woman was killed, and somebody has to pay for that. And since I don't know who else, I'm going to have to say that Mr. Avery is the one who's guilty. Answer, no. Question, you won't do that, will you? Answer, no. Question, and along those lines, you just said something about, well, if he knows something, he should tell us. There's always the question in any criminal case for a defence attorney, which is whether or not the defendant should testify or not testify. Answer, I understand that, yes. Question, and would you think that in order for you to find him, Mr. Avery, not guilty, that you would want to hear from him first? Answer, not necessarily. Question, why not? Answer, well, I think if he wanted to say something, I think he would tell you. Question, okay, and you understand that we, Mr. Strang and I, have, input here and would advise him whether or not to testify, right? Answer, right, yes. Question, well, the judge will give you an instruction that a criminal defendant, it's one of the rights we have in our Constitution. Not only do they not have to prove their innocence, but they also they have a right not to testify if that's what they choose to do. Answer, okay. Question, and that you can't. If Mr. Avery does choose not to testify, you can't consider that in any way against him. Answer, no. Question, you can't hold that against him. Answer, I understand that. Question, on the other hand, if Mr. Avery does choose to testify, do you think you would be able to listen to his testimony just like any other witness? Answer, yes. Question, and consider it? Answer, yes. Question, you wouldn't think just because he's a defendant, I just can't believe anything he says? Answer, no. Question, you sure of that? Answer, yes. Question, okay, all right, just one last question. Do you think you want to be on this jury? Answer, yes. Question, okay, why? Answer, I think it's a good learning experience. If he would be guilty for the family of Teresa Holbach, he should be found guilty beyond that reasonable doubt, and if he is not guilty, he won't be found guilty. Question, and you want to be one of the 12 people who make that kind of decision? Answer, that's a tough call. I realise that's a big responsibility, and I told the people out in the outer room that when I came in here last Monday, I told God I can't do this on my own, but I know that He will know, and He will help me do this. Question, so you realise what a serious responsibility? Answer, absolutely. Question, this is? Answer, very much so. Question, but you think you could be fair and undertake that responsibility? Answer, yes. Question, okay. Attorney Buting, thank you very much. Ma'am, I appreciate it. Mrs. Flint, you're welcome. The court, I just wanted to ask a couple of follow-up questions. Voir dire examination by the court. Question, I think that it was clarified at the end, but the question of the police officers as witnesses. Answer, yes. Question, I think you indicated at the beginning that you would expect them to tell the truth because that's part of their duty as a police officer. Answer, right. Question, and that is true, but as Mr. Buting indicated, and there was a question on the questionnaire about this actually, and the question read as follows. Some of the witnesses in this case will be members of law enforcement. The law requires jurors to evaluate their credibility just as that of any other witness. That is, the jurors are prohibited from giving any more or less credibility to the testimony of a law officer simply because the witness is a law officer. Answer, okay. Question, do you believe you can follow such an instruction? Answer, yes. Question, there will be another instruction at the trial given to the jurors that sets out the factors that the jurors are to consider in evaluating the credibility, that is, the believability of each witness, and they are the same whether the witness is a police officer or not. They include whether the witness has an interest or lack of interest in the result of the trial, the conduct, appearance, and demeanour of the witness on the witness stands, the clearness or lack of clearness of the witness recollections, the reasonableness of the witness's testimony, and bias or prejudice, if any has been shown. Those are among the things you are to consider, and if you are a juror, you will have to assess the credibility of all witnesses, including police officers, on that basis. That means you have to look at each of them and make a determination whether they are telling the truth or not. Do you think you can do that if you're a juror? Answer: yes. Question: and can you apply the same standards to police officer witnesses as you do to other witnesses? Answer: yes. The court: okay, all right. The clerk will take you out and escort you from the courtroom at this time. Wherein the juror was excused.